The country's top cop says to stand by. Tonight, we have an update on investigations into abuse allegations against a sitting MP. Plus, the age-old battle of beach access continues. Vendors say they are being kept out. Hear how the tourism minister says the issue will be addressed. And UB North will soon have a permanent home again. This after Hurricane Dorian decimated the campus back in 2019. And then in our news at 7:30, I pledge my allegiance to the flag. A local pastor is taking the government to task, claiming he's the rightful designer of that widely recognized national symbol. Our news live at 7 starts now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. The Director of Public Prosecutions has sent recommendations to the Commissioner of Police, and a decision on the matter regarding a sitting member of Parliament is expected soon. The top cop telling reporters there are a few more inquiries that need to be made. Berthany McDermott tells us more.
Yes, I'm in possession of that, and I'm viewing that as we speak, and you will be updated shortly.
Back in April, a woman filed a complaint to the police in Grand Bahama accusing a sitting PLP MP of abuse and rape. Once police wrapped up the investigation, the matter was forwarded to the acting director of public prosecutions. She has since issued recommendations back to the police commissioner.
I will say, but not at this time.
How soon can people expect that to be right?
Very, very shortly.
The Royal Bahamas Police Force has come under fire for what many are calling the slow movement by police on this matter. Spectators have suggested the police have been dragging their feet because he's a part of the government. When put to Fernando, he said this.
No, it's no slow movement, if you understand investigation. Some investigation, you will find different lines of inquiries, and this is one that highlighted a number of lines of inquiries, and that's what we are doing. Even recommendation from our DPP to do some things. I'm just saying. So we are following those lines of inquiries so that we'll ensure that everything is done in decency and in order.
But the police commissioner didn't stop there. He doubled down, saying not all investigations are the same.
Every matter that comes to our attention is not one flow. Sometimes it will be a shut and closed case, and sometimes you generate lines of inquiries based on what the victim says and based on what the suspect says, and even witnesses. So that's what it is. But it's no hold up on our part. We are just doing due diligence to ensure that fairness across the board in any investigation.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. Meantime, police in Eleuthera are looking into what led to the drowning of a South African woman. The incident happened around 11 a.m. on Saturday. Police say the victim was swimming in waters near a gully hole in Deep Creek when she began to experience difficulties breathing. The 45-year-old was pulled from the water and transported to the local clinic, where she was examined and pronounced dead by local doctors. A police officer has been suspended after being charged with vehicular manslaughter. Prosecutors say 48-year-old Dalton Knowles was driving while under the influence of alcohol when he lost control of his car and killed Tamika Duncombe, his front seat passenger. Knowles crashed into the guardrails on Bahamas Games Boulevard on December 17, 2022. His passenger died at the scene, and Knowles, who was also hurt, was hospitalized. Knowles was not required to plead to the charge when he stood before Acting Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley on Wednesday. He was granted $8,000 bail, and Knowles is next due in court on October 19th. He could face up to 10 years in prison if he's convicted. Knowles worked at the Criminal Investigation Department before his suspension. A suspect has been identified for the death of another prisoner who died a few weeks ago. National Security Minister Wayne Monroe confirmed as much, adding the victim was mentally challenged and suffered blunt force trauma. He said this is one reason why the new correctional facility is so important.
Many of the issues surround the mentally challenged. And so it is a matter of concern. It's a matter of concern that the government is seeking to address by moving ahead with the correctional facility. Today, it is recognized that you need special cells to hold persons who have mental challenges, that you need a facility on the compound to properly treat people who are mentally challenged now, given the Mental Health Act. The government takes this very seriously. It's a matter of deep concern for us.
The 59-year-old was on remand for vagrancy. Monroe says the prison now has a medical practitioner on duty at the prison. He says the new facility will also have a medical health clinic and standard medical facility.
Every time we have to transport an inmate from B-Docks to the hospital, in some cases they have to shut off entire wards depending on who it is. The public hospital authorities, the Ministry of Health does not like us transporting inmates to their medical facility. So it's proposed that there will be a medical facility at the correctional facility for everything other than the most serious cases.
It's now time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is standing by in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Boy, we've been seeing some real warm temperatures around the islands today for the last couple of days, and it is still warm out there. Outside our studios, 86 degrees, a few clouds. Winds out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour, and factoring the relative humidity, it is a very warm 92 degrees. That's your feels-like temperature. Temperatures around the islands, all in the mid to upper 80s, 86s, most locations across the Northwest Bahamas, Freeport, Marshall, Barbacoa, Great Harbour Key, as well as in Governor's Harbour. We are all at 86 there. 88 in Alistown, Bimini, Nicholstown, Andros, 87. 87 in Kemps Bay, we pick up more 86s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, Coop Thompson, Salvador, Deadman's Key, and in Georgetown, and into the southeast Bahamas. Duncantown, Ragged Island, you guys are 86. 85s in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, you have some showers nearby, and you are 85 as well. 85 in Abrahams Bay, Turks and Caicos Islands, 85, also got some showers nearby. Deep south, Matthewtown, Inagua, you round out our temperature profile at 84. Satellite view and radar composite, we have two distinct features really across our area. One, a weak surface trough near the northern Bahamas. That's the remnants of a frontal boundary that has been dropping into the area. Showers and thunderstorms associated with that moving into the northwest Bahamas. We also have a tropical wave that's moving across Hispaniola, the northern extent of that extending into the southeast Bahamas. And you guys down there will actually see a couple more showers as that wave actually moves towards the west over the next 24 hours. In the meantime, high pressure at the surface will continue to provide the very warm temperatures, and it looks as though we are not going to get a break through the weekend. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, one step forward, then 2 steps back. Vendors say enough is enough. They need consistent access to a popular beach. And getting to the Big Apple just got easier. A major airline announcing that a new route to New York will come on stream by year's end. And the president of UB North is sharing the plan for their Old Eastern campus. That's all coming up when our news returns.
March on, Bahamas.
For years now, vendors have complained about beach access to Cabbage Beach on Paradise Island. In the past, governments have promised vendors that they will have access to the beach. However, as of late, vendors have said that's not been the case. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism and Aviation, Chester Cooper, says the issue involved only one of the entrances to the beach.
We currently monitor numerous vendors in the area just east of Rio. So there's no issue of access just east of Rio. I believe the gate that you are referring to may be the eastern gate that is sometimes closed on the weekends. We continue to work with the police and of course the property owners in the immediate facilities to see how we could cause there to be a constant opening of that gate. There have been some concerns there.
Cooper says the government is working with various stakeholders to ensure vendors have consistent access to the beach.
We are working along with the Tourism Promotion Board and of course the property owners to acquire some equipment ATVs, etc., to give the police a little bit more mobility, to ensure that there is control in the area from any type of nefarious activities. We are committed to ensuring that the Bahamian people have full, unrestricted beach access, and we are committed to ensuring that people are able to make an honest living.
New York lovers out there, get ready. Delta Airlines is expanding its routes with a major airline announcing a new flight for the winter season, direct from the Big Apple to Nassau, twice a day, daily. The flights start on December 16th and will leave New York's LaGuardia Airport on Boeing 737-800 at 10:45 a.m. and will arrive in New Providence at 2 p.m. In a statement, Nassau Paradise Island Promotion Board CEO Joy Gibberlew welcomed the new addition, saying she is thrilled by the new venture and adds the country is excited to expand access to our beautiful country. The University of the Bahamas will be locating to downtown Freeport. You may remember that their main campus located in East Grand Bahama was destroyed by Hurricane Dorian back in 2019. Since then, the school was operating from various locations on the island of Grand Bahama. President of the university, Dr. Ian Strawn, giving an update on the school's relocation to downtown.
We're poised to really ratchet up the work there. We'll be having some huge announcements soon. We have a very important pledge that we're going to announce very soon, and we expect that we'll be able to see the transformation of that in very short order.
And as for the former campus, he says it will not be abandoned.
Our plan is to devote that space to marine and environmental science research, and that's going to be a part of how we go forward. We got a major grant recently to do some work in the area of forestry, and we'll be partnering with the forestry unit, and that will be announced very soon too.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world, as the dismembered body of a missing man is discovered in Thailand. Plus, for $800,000, you can be the owner of an OceanGate submersible. And find out how cow tissue is used to reconstruct a human heart. We have the details when our news returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Police have arrested 2 Germans and are searching for a Pakistani man over the gruesome death of a gangland-linked businessman found dismembered in a fridge in Thailand. The search for 62-year-old Hans Peter Mack reached a tragic end as police located his remains in a garbage bag at a rented house in a city in southern Thailand. Mack was a property broker who lived with his Thai wife. In February 2018, Hans was arrested with a Thai woman on charges of allegedly prostituting girls under the age of 18. He went missing on July 4th. Police say the 2 suspects conspired to murder Mack, then transported and concealed his body. Stone-throwing demonstrators clashed with police in Kenyan cities and 2 were shot dead. This from officers on the scene. This is the second round of protests in less than a week against a raft of tax hikes. We are advising this story contains graphic images. Angela Johnston reports.
Against a backdrop of a burnt car and rising smoke, protesters in Nairobi renewed clashes with police on Wednesday. Some of the most intense clashes took place along the expressway linking the Kenyan capital to its international airport. The spark for the second round of protests in less than a week, tax hikes.
Again, you see young guys, they were crying that they promised, Mr. President, you promised them that you are going to help them, but you didn't.
Officers on the scene said 2 demonstrators were shot dead. A police spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Opposition leader Raila Odinga slammed the police response and canceled a rally in Nairobi planned for the afternoon. alleging a plot to attack his supporters.
Will deny Ruto the taxes he thinks he can extort from us by force.
At least 6 people were killed last Friday during protests called for by Odinga. President William Ruto was elected last year on a platform of helping Kenya's working poor. But his critics say the tax increases he signed last month will make life harder for Kenyans who are already struggling to afford basic goods like maize flour. They include a doubling of the fuel tax and a levy to fund affordable housing. The government says they're needed to deal with debt and pay for job creation initiatives.
An OceanGate submersible is listed for sale at a price of nearly $800,000. And the broker who's been trying to sell it for 5 years wants nothing to do with it. Yacht broker Steve Rioch has been trying to sell the submersible for years and says he's no longer wants anything to do with the company. OceanGate found itself in the spotlight after the Titan submersible imploded on a dive to the Titanic, carrying 5 people on board. Antipods was first constructed in 1973 by Perry Submersibles. The craft is capable of reaching depths up to 1,000 feet and was used on several voyages by OceanGate. A team of doctors from the Caribbean Heart Institute in Guyana was able to save a man's life by using cow tissue to reconstruct his heart. The life-saving surgery, which was a first of its kind, was completed on June 22nd by a team led by Shy's CEO and Guyanese-born heart surgeon, Dr. Gary Stevens. The surgery, which was conducted on 24-year-old Dexter George, saw doctors completely remove a cardiac tumor, partially remove his right atrium, and utilize tissue from a cow's heart to reconstruct his damaged right atrium. George had been battling his severe illness for over 9 months, with few options for treatment. Doctors recommended the innovative surgery, which has less than 1% chance of success. St. Lucia's Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Philip J. Pierre, has tabled a resolution in the Parliament to provide additional economic relief to the public and spur economic development by the removal of value-added tax on select building materials. Pierre informed the Parliament and the St. Lucian public of the government's intention to remove VAT on building materials during his budget address in April. On July 11, 2023, the lower house expressed support for the Prime Minister's resolution to suspend VAT charges, a reduction of 12.5% on current prices on plywood, lumber, cement, steel, galvanized and solar PV systems from August 2, 2023 to August 1, 2025. And in tonight's Sustainability First, students have gathered from across the country for a forum on climate change this week. Our Marlena Leonard has those details.
Bahamas First, putting sustainability first for our people and our environment. What's first for you and the planet comes first for us.
Students and young people from as far north as Grand Bahama and as far south as Mayaguana gathering at the University of the Bahamas Performing Arts Center over the next 2 days for the Bahamas Youth Climate Conference to discuss topics like sustainable agriculture, waste management, and even a youth in action policy drafting session for COP28. Minister of Agriculture, Marine Resources, and Family Island Affairs, Clay Sweeting, was particularly excited by the variety of Family Island participants.
So to see more inclusion like this, because we are an archipelagic nation, we are one people. A lot of times we Nassau-centric, so they don't get involved. So to get young people from, and what's interesting is that the forerunners and a lot of this climate change talk are from the Family Islands.
Laura Lee McIntosh is a geography teacher at Abaco's S.E. Boodle High School and says the importance to her students is twofold.
It was extremely important, first of all, because of Dorian, and we've been like recipient of that. We're very flat, and we should be responsible for our own, and I think the next generation should know this and the part they have to play. So who best to have at the forefront than them?
While one of the first topics of the morning covered why climate change matters, many of the students already feel the urgency of the situation.
I felt it was important because in the Bahamas we know that climate is a serious issue and we have to be prepared for the future and for our future generations. So I think it's very vital that our young people learn more about it so that we can really sustain our wildlife and our environment.
We are the future
So I feel like it's very important for us to get the knowledge and to learn more about climate change for us to build resilience for our future. And in Maguana, climate change is a very big deal because if the oceans is getting much warmer, the humidity is rising, and it's mostly killing most of our corals, most of the fish species. And I feel like we need to do something about it, and that's why it's important for us to come here and I can go back home and make a difference and then change some minds towards climate change.
Reporting for our news and reminding you to put sustainability first. I'm Marlena Leonard.
Still to come in our news. Today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was July 13th. Plus, a local pastor claims that he's the original designer of the Bahamian flag. Hear his case coming up in our news in 7:30. Also in our news at 7:30. Residents weigh in on foreign diplomats being honored on the eve of our 50th anniversary of independence. That's coming up when our news returns. Welcome back to our news. It's now time to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was July 13th.
On this day in Bahamian history in 1959, the Bahamas National Trust Act was passed in Parliament, establishing the Bahamas National Trust. The act states that the Bahamas National Trust was created for the purposes of promoting the permanent preservation for the benefit and enjoyment of the Bahamas, tenants, and submarine areas of beauty. This act granted the BNT oversight of the country's national park system. Today, the park consists of 32 national parks, covering roughly 2.2 million acres of the Bahamas. Then in 2012, Curtis Johnson passed away at the age of 96. Johnson was a Bahamian entrepreneur and marine pioneer who established the first commercial aquarium of marine life in the Bahamas. Johnson was also an early adopter in local jewelry manufacturing. He designed his first piece of jewelry at the age of 17 and gained quite a few customers shortly after. He and his wife Dorothy opened their tortoise shell business on December 16th, 1944. It was an immediate success, and their staff grew from 2 to 26 in a very short time. In the early 1950s, on the back of the success of his jewelry store, Johnson had the dream of creating a miniature aquarium above his store. He gained permission to start building in 1953, and on March 17, 1967, his dream became a reality. The 9-acre educational and recreational seafloor aquarium opened in Chippingham, Nassau, brought joy to tourists and locals alike. Then in 2013, the airport road was dug up by an unknown individual. More than a mile of newly paved road on John F. Kennedy Drive between the Gladstone Road roundabout and the entrance to Westridge was dug up during leaving officials stunned. The machine that was used to cause the damage was a Caterpillar D8, and it was discarded in bushes on the lake shore. At the time, it was known who caused this, but the construction of the road got back on track despite these setbacks. Then in 2017, former PLP Minister Ken Dorset was charged with bribery and misconduct of a public officer. The former MP and Environment Minister was brought before the courts as he was charged with numerous counts of bribery and extortion. It was alleged that sometime between March 1st and May 9th, Dorset had demanded $120,000 from Jonathan Ash, knowing that he was not lawfully authorized to do so. He also faced a 9th charge of misconduct of a public officer. In March 2022, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions dropped the case by issuing a nolle prosequi. And finally, in 2021, the Bahamas Embassy closed in Haiti amid upheaval. The Bahamian Embassy in Haiti closed indefinitely, and the 4 Bahamian diplomats stationed there had to be flown home. This sudden shutdown was caused due to the assassination of the Haitian president, with Minister Henfield saying the embassy will reopen when it is safe.
The Bahamas National Trust receiving a $50,000 donation yesterday from Glinton Sweeting O'Brien Counsel and Attorneys at Law. Brian Glinton, managing partner at the firm, said there were a number of reasons they felt now was an appropriate time for the donation.
We're very proud to provide a leadership gift of $50,000 to the Bahamas National Trust. We're providing this in celebration of the significance of the 50th anniversary of the Bahamas, in recognition of the Bahamas National Trust's 64th anniversary, and in support of its National Parks Bahamian Pride fundraising campaign. GSO is deeply committed to the arts, education, cancer research, and the environment, which is driven by our shared belief that these areas have the greatest impact on our country's ongoing development.
But it's more than just the timing that inspired them to donate. Glinton stresses the importance of the BNT's continuous efforts for environmental preservation and national engagement for environmental stewardship are worth supporting. He urged others to join in and donate. BNT Executive Director Lakeisha Anderson Roll told the donors where they could expect to see their donation go.
We really want to let you know that your partnership means a lot to us. We look forward to continuing and growing this relationship, and know that your gift will be used to help with advancing more effective management of our national parks. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we are excited for this new relationship moving forward.
Now, to watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, be sure to visit ournews.bs. That does it for our news at 7. Joining us now is our Italia Hall with the latest headlines.
Yes, Megan. Well, coming up, a local pastor is fed up with government and the University of the Bahamas unveiling a new film. Here are your latest headlines. Fed up, first tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. After years of pleading with government, a local pastor says he wants what is owed to him. Our Joshua Williams has the exclusive interview. And bad timing. Hear why residents are speaking out against 2 non-Bahamians receiving national honors. And following a multitude of issues during the independence celebrations in Grand Bahama over the weekend, a local company is apologizing. And later, despite a number of challenges due to Hurricane Dorian, the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus is pressing on. We have the full story on their latest documentary. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment. Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. A local preacher who sued the government over the use of the Bahamas national flag says he's frustrated about not being recognized and compensated as the designer of the flag. Now he says he's prepared to take action. Our Joshua Williams has a story.
When you see this, what first comes to mind?
Frustration. A whole lot of frustration comes to my mind when I see this, yeah.
That's Bishop James Darling explaining how he feels after decades of pleading with the government for what he says he is owed. Bahamian history has credited the late Reverend Dr. Hervis Bain as the designer of our national flag, something Darling claims simply isn't true.
There's nothing in the registry that supports Hervis Bain being responsible for the design of this flag here.
This board game, Darling says he designed in his mother's backyard with spare boards of wood and old spray paint cans in 1964 when he was 10. Darling has even taken his battle to court. He began proceedings against the Attorney General for copyright infringement by a writ of summons on March 10, 2010. Darling claims he has held the copyright for the design called Fund in the Bahamas since 1964, as he was just 10 years old when his sister wrote a letter to the Registrar General's Department requesting the copyright on his behalf. He alleges copies of his design were taken from the registrar's office where they were copyrighted and then used for the flag's design in 1973. Darling brought several court documents and letters from former prime ministers acknowledging him as the flag's designer, along with promises for payment.
My question is, when are they going to pay me and when are they going to change history? Because the truth needs to be told.
Tired of approaching the situation diplomatically, Darling says he's now prepared to take a drastic step.
If they don't compensate me, I will have no alternative but to sell the copyright for the design of the flag. And right now between 3 different nations that has a great concern, but I'm just waiting for which one of them that come closest to my figure.
The 70-year-old preacher says while it hurts him as a Bahamian, he feels after all these years, he has no choice.
That's what's going to go crazy. I'm telling you, it's going to hurt the country tremendously. We don't have to go to that route. Just simply pay me.
Now Our News contacted the family of the late Reverend Dr. Hervis Bain, who declined to comment but made reference to one of Bain's books, To All and Singular, Bahamian National Symbols. Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks for that, Josh. Well, residents speaking out tonight after 2 non-Bahamians were honored at the country's 50th independence event on Clifford Park. Our Jamila Mizik has reaction tonight.
Your Excellency, I now invite you to present his medals and warrants.
It was these presentations on the eve of the country's 50th independence that has many Bahamians questioning whether it was the appropriate place and time to honor President of Rwanda Paul Kagame and United States Congresswoman Maxine Waters. The two were awarded the Order of Excellence by the Advisory Committee of the National Honor Society based on the recommendation of Prime Minister Philip Davis. It's a decision Davis later defended despite the fact that some Bahamian acts were scratched from the program, while Kagame and Waters were allowed to speak. Tonight, these residents are weighing in.
I feel that there shouldn't be a suit honoring other people, but they shouldn't interfere with the Bahamians having their time as well. They shouldn't cut in the Bahamians being able to celebrate. It could have been done at a different time. It shouldn't have affected our time.
And I don't think that they got a fair shake, because when you think about it, we have a lot of well-educated Bahamians in this country that could play those roles. And also I think the time and effort that goes into these productions that like the youth choir does and those brass bands and stuff, it's deplorable, I think.
Resident Kenya McKenzie says she believes Bahamians deserved an explanation.
I think there are a lot of times when things are done here and not sufficient explanation is done or not sufficient reasoning is given for what is done. So I feel as if it was said and explained better, then the Bahamian public would have a better, much more profound appreciation for those who receive their honors.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Well, following technical challenges at the 50th independence celebrations in Freeport, Grand Bahama on Sunday night, the company responsible is apologizing. In a statement, management of JS Management said they are regretful of the challenges related to power, sound, and lighting that impacted the production of the event. The statement added, while thankful for the opportunity, the company called the mishap a learning experience and said they will continue to improve their craft, admitting that they are committed to excellence. Now turning to crime, Police Commissioner Clayton Fernandez says officers are aware that criminals borrow guns to commit crimes. Fernandez says it's a trend they are keeping a close eye on.
We have seen in a number of investigations and in communication with suspects that are arrested, they will indicate to you that they lend this one a weapon to commit a crime. So you see that happen, and it's highlighted in the courts by them themselves, that they borrowed the gun from this one and the next one to commit a crime.
Is there anything being done, I guess, for the people who they may have rented or borrowed from?
Yes, we are following, and that is a trend that we noted, and we have a plan of action for that.
His comments come as police investigate a homicide Wednesday morning where a man was sitting in a Paso. Police have been looking into ways to take guns off the street.
It makes it so very difficult when you're involved in the life of crime. It makes it so difficult, and that's why the investigators continue to be on the ground and trying to put the puzzle together to get a perfect photo.
Well, a judge has sentenced a man to 7 years in prison for raping his stepdaughter. A jury convicted the 53-year-old man of unlawful sexual intercourse with a dependent last July, and he was remanded into custody to await sentencing. The man's name has been withheld to protect the victim's identity. According to the prosecution's case, the man allegedly began molesting the girl months after he married her mother in August of 2017. The jury accepted the prosecution's contention that the man raped his stepdaughter in the marital bed on March 5, 2018. Her mother was not home when the incident had happened. Well, we've got a whole lot more to get to in a moment, but for now, a quick check on the forecast with meteorologist Greg Thompson, who is in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Natalia. Another warm and muggy evening outside our studios. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, 86 outside our studios right now. Your winds out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour. And factoring in the relative humidity, it feels like a very warm 92 degrees on the outside. Satellite and radar composite, weak surface trough, the remnants of a front hanging out near the northwest Bahamas, generating some showers and some isolated thunderstorms across that area. That will continue to side towards the south. There's also a tropical wave near Hispaniola that's moving towards the west. The northern extent of that into the southeast Bahamas, so some showers and thunderstorms expected down there tonight through tomorrow. And both of these systems will remain in place through the next 24 hours. That's a quick check on conditions around the island. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, strong words coming from the Family Island Affairs Minister following severe issues by Bahamas Power and Light, and the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus releasing a new film focused on the history of the organization. We speak with the producer of the documentary when our news returns. Stay with us.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off lab, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
Family Island Affairs Minister Clay Sweeting calling for a united front following a back and forth in the House of Assembly yesterday about Bahamas Power and Light facing severe problems in several family islands.
These issues when it comes to utilities has been legacy issues for our country. I think it's time for becoming a united front. Don't try to use it as a back and forth, and really come with real ideas that can really transcend governments, because the reality is that all of us need utilities, all of us need electricity, we need water, and for us as a government, and the Minister of Works and the Prime Minister are working fervently hard to ensure that we work on development goals to do that.
And as for specific challenges in his central and south Eleuthera constituency, Sweeting says,
We had some power outages. Some of it is related to, various issues, some, transformers or things like that. So, we do have issues, but I think that what's important for me is that once we recognize that there are issues, if the people in my constituency don't have power, that we recognize what the issues are and we formulate a plan to ensure that we fix those as soon as possible. And, that's what governance is about.
When our news comes back from the break, the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus unveiling a new documentary to the public.
Jonquel Jones and the New York Liberty are headed to prestigious in-season tournament, and we bring you the latest from the Bahamas games. Don't go anywhere. Our sports is coming right up.
We hope you've got your sunglasses and sunscreen as temperatures are extremely hot around the islands today. Greg is back with your extended weather when our news continues.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Jonquel Jones and the Liberties are headed to the Commissioner's Cup, and we update you on the Bahamas games. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Natalia. The New York Liberty have been one of the best teams in the WNBA all season. Now they're going to the Commissioner's Cup. Jonquel Jones and the New York Liberty will play in the Commissioner's Cup after defeating the Indiana Fever 95-87 in a wild overtime thriller where JJ scored 12 points and grabbed 7 rebounds to claim their spot. The Cup features the best teams in the East and the West playing for a large cash prize pool and a donation to the charity of their choice. The Liberty have amassed a 14-4 record this season, good for first in the East and second place in the league overall behind the defending champion Aces. the Western team who clinched the other spot. The tournament begins next month. It's great to see JJ come back from her injury and play winning basketball. Speaking of winners, there have been a number of winners at the Bahamas games, and here they are. A number of medals have already been won at the Bahamas games. New Providence pulled off the clean sweep, winning the women's and men's soccer championships. Long Island won the A-class in sailing, when Andros won tennis and has the lead in golf. New Providence won the gold in baseball, Columbus Isle won women's volleyball, and New Providence won the men's division. Last night, we had a thriller in basketball where Luther eked out a win over Grand Bahama. That'll do it for sports today. I'm Tage Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, UB North highlights its growth over the years as well as some of their challenges. We'll tell you all about it. And drink up as temperatures are expected to heat up even more as the weekend approaches. Greg will tell you more when our news returns. Welcome back to our news. We've been feeling the heat all week, but will temperatures continue to climb? Well, Greg is back in the Weather Center. Greg, what can you tell us?
Yeah, thanks again, Natalia. Welcome back, everybody, for our final check on weather. We are talking about the heat. That's been the story of our weather for the last several days, and those temperatures are in the low to mid-90s during the daytime hours. Factoring the relative humidity, those rich temperatures are keeping us rather hot. Heat indices, boy, they've been in the triple digits, anywhere from 103 to 108, and we will continue to see that pattern over the next couple of days. There's a weak surface trough near the northern Bahamas that's generating some showers and some isolated thunderstorms down there. And of course, the southeast Bahamas, we are seeing a tropical wave moving just to the south of the Bahamas, but the northern extent moving into the southeastern islands, so some showers and thunderstorms associated with that will continue to move towards the west. But the heat will remain with us for the next several days as our big dome of high pressure sits across the Atlantic and across the Bahamas, and in the upper levels there's a high pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico that's actually jutting across us as well, and those temperatures are going to stay with us. The tropics remaining a little bit on the quiet side. We do have an area that the National Hurricane Center is watching out there in the open Atlantic just to the southeast of Bermuda. That's about a 60% chance for formation, but it's going to remain out there in the Atlantic. It's going to pose no problem for anybody, but the remainder of the tropics is quiet right now. Future forecast showing a couple of spotty showers across the northern islands, most of the activity staying east of our area, and then we have another couple of spotty showers across the northern islands as well on Friday, and then come Saturday, that tropical wave continued to move towards the west. Northern islands seeing most of the activity as the northern extent of that wave hangs out across that area. If you plan on doing any boating for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow, the winds will be southeast to south, 10 to 15 knot, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Low tide will be at 18 minutes past midnight. For the central and southeastern islands, a caution flag for you guys down there. East to southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, some low-level moisture will be in place with that tropical wave moving towards the west, so we keep some showers in the forecast through Saturday, but those temperatures will stay rather warm over the next couple of days. We are urging you, if you plan on doing anything on the outdoors, make sure you take frequent breaks and drink lots of water. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
All right, Greg, great advice. Well, the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus recently presenting their documentary UB North, Rising to the Grand Bahama Community. The documentary focuses on the journey of UB North from its inception. Filming began at the end of 2019. President of the institution, Dr. Ian Strawn, and Director of Advancement, Keturah Bab Higgs, calling it a wonderful occasion.
It's been a labor of love, and we've brought together so many of the individuals who have been instrumental in bringing higher education to the northern region. And it just tells the story of the origins of this campus, the ups and downs, the achievements. We hear from alumni.
We purchased the downtown campus about last year this time, and we're really about to galvanize and really bring new life into downtown. And as a part of that, we really want to bring the community together to be a part of reigniting what UB means and what UB North means to Grand Bahama, and not just Grand Bahama, but to Abaco, Bimini, and the surrounding islands.
Dean of Faculty at the University, Dr. Andrew Moxey, says they're delighted to be sharing the documentary, while Grand Bahamian filmmaker Alfred Anderson says it's an honor to be a part of the major project.
Hope that it will adequately reflect the challenges, the successes, the stories, the individuals who have made the development of the campus what it is.
I feel like there's so much more room and so much other talent within the creative field here in the Bahamas, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this.
All right, great news in Grand Bahama. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.